Hello, I'm Janelle Shalla, and in this video I'm going to be discussing a special variety of quartz, which is called silver quartz. Silver quartz comes from the region of Minas Gerais in Brazil, which is the area where a lot of the gold mining is done. The quartz, all the quartz from this region is very, very clear. This is a small piece for you to be getting on with. The other quartzes that come from the region that you may know are Lemurian quartz and Diamantina quartz, for example. All of them, if the striation is polished off from the outside, the interior of the crystal is unbelievably clear. And this is no exception. This quartz was found in one small chamber in one of the mines, and it's pretty much been mined out, but you may well be able to find pieces of it still available. I am so enamored with this quartz that since I started bringing it in, I've ended up using it almost exclusively instead of using, the sort of normal quartz we think of that's got a little bit more inclusion and things like that. I tend to use this for my gridding around my clients. I don't use it as my control crystal. I have a Tibetan quartz for that. It's got a very friendly energy, as do all the quartzes that come out of this region. This is another piece, and this is probably a little bit more typical. This one is a laser crystal, but you get very straight-sided crystals as well, and you can see this incredible clarity. It does tend to prism the light because it's so clear. It's almost like a piece of lead crystal. The vibration of it is slightly higher than normal quartz. I don't know if you can understand what I mean, but there's a different quality to the energy of it. So it feels like it's coming from a much higher place, a little bit like working with Herkimer diamond. And working with it, as the new energies are coming in these days, as we're having to evolve very, very quickly, this quartz can help us raise our own energy so that we're at the same vibration of what's coming in. So we don't feel that sense of being kind of buffeted about, thrown, spinning. There's all sorts of other feelings people have been getting recently because they're not quite in tune with the energies. It's the one I prefer to meditate with as well. I do have a piece that I use, an extraordinary piece that I'm not giving the editor, I have to say. This lives on my altar. I'm going to hold it as close as I can so you get an idea, but I don't really want to give it up to be videoed, so for that reason you won't get a close-up of this one. The bit of white that you can see about halfway down is actually gas bubbles, and that's the only inclusion you see in any of these crystals. This one is used as a group crystal with some of my teaching, with some of my students. But I also have a small piece similar to the piece I showed you a few moments ago that's about 3 inches long, 5 to 8 centimeters thereabouts. I use it specifically in a very advanced technique, which is when people sometimes get a rent or tear in the etheric field or the energy field when they've gone through extreme trauma, and they get a leak. It's very hard to close these tears, but I have found that using one of these crystals in the etheric field or out away from the body in the energy field seems to not only close it up, but it also holds, so it stays closed. Now, because it's getting so hard to get hold of, and I know it's going to be slightly disappointing for some of you who aren't able to get hold of this particular crystal, there is another area where a similar mineral is coming out. There are 2 regions in Colombia where there are some extraordinarily clear crystals. They have the same friendly feeling and do very similar things to this quartz, and they're known as blades of light. I'm going to do a separate video on blades of light, but for now this is the end of this video on silver quartz.